Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Giglio, principal of Homestead High School, and I'm here with another edition of our weekly video message. This is for Friday, February 10th, 2023. And as you can see, I have a guest star here with me. I have Marissa Amasquita. Marissa, you want to introduce yourself to the audience there?
Hi, everyone. I'm Marissa Amasquita. I'm one of the school counselors here, and I work with students with last names A through E.
Right on. And so I've invited her on here because this is course selection time and people have questions. As you remember, I kind of talked a little bit about some course selection stuff last message. I have a question here, which I'll go over in a little bit, but I thought I'd invite Marissa on here to kind of go over some of the commonly asked questions from before. So we have a couple questions that comes up every time. So I'm going to ask you those questions and hopefully you can deliver that out, folks. So the first one is, how do I, the student, enter my 7th course request into Infinite Campus?
Yes, we do get this question a lot. Actually, students do not enter their 7th course request into Infinite Campus, and this is why they get a little bit confused. So in the presentations that we have given this week, we tell the students to select their 7th course request on their form, but do not enter Infinite Campus because Infinite Campus doesn't have space for students to enter more than 6 choices. And then after everyone has completed course selection, we keep a list of those students that are requesting a 7th course. And if we have space in our classes, then we are able to provide them their 7th class.
Right. And so that first one was a trick question, so I appreciate that one. So glad we can answer it. So second one is, what is the #1 thing students forget to do in course selection?
So the most common thing that we see students forget to do is put in their alternates. So we have students select alternates for their first choice classes so that we are able to give them a full schedule. And we do ask that they select alternates that they really want to be in as well as their first choice classes. So for example, if we're not able to give them their first choice science class, we want to make sure that they have a science class next year, so we will go to their alternates.
Okay. So third question is, how do I change the math class I see in Infinite Campus?
Yes, so this is actually a new process this year. So I do anticipate we will be getting some questions about this. But so by the end of this week, students will be able to log into Infinite Campus and see the math class that they are being recommended for next year by their current math teacher. Now, if this is not the math class that they feel is appropriate for them to be in next year, we will be sending out an Inform K-12 form by March 10th, and students will be able to read the instructions, and if they want to make a change to their math course, they fill out the form and then submit it. We will get those changes, we will input them so that when they get their reverse verification in April, it will indicate the math class that they want to be in.
Great. And so what are some of the tips you like to give out to students and parents during this time to kind of just make sure they cross all the I's and dot all the T's?
Sure. So we already are having parents wonder why when they log into Infinite Campus, they don't see or they don't have the ability to enter in courses. And that's because the students have to log in. So we really want our students to be in charge of this process. So they are going to log into their Infinite Campus portal and then enter in their courses. Another thing that we get questions on is, my student filled out their course request form, they signed it, but I haven't received it as a parent to sign. So just remember for the students to submit their course request form to the next approver, which would then be their parents.
Okay.
Lastly, it's not a first come, first serve basis for course selection. The process is all due by February 17th. We don't do anything before then, so no rush. We really want our students to be thoughtful in their course selection process.
All righty. Well, thank you for coming on. This happens to be National School Counselors Week. So on behalf of everybody, we want to thank you and the other 4 counselors, as well as the team of folks that, from our Corey, who's our secretary, and Trisha, who's our data tech, and Annabelle, who's our registrar, and Shay, who's our college and career counselor. Again, you guys do an amazing job. This is a busy, busy time for you. So thank you for taking a few minutes to sit down and chat with us. And we've been completing and we'll have completed all of the course information meetings with students this week, and then working with them up until the deadline. So thank you for all your work. Thanks for coming on, and I'll let you get back to doing all that important work, and I'm going to get moseying on with the rest of the show here. So thank you
Okay.
for coming.
Bye.
Thanks. See you later. So I'm just going to go and share my screen while she's logging off. And so here we are. As you can see, as I said, this is the weekly video message for February 2nd. I'm going to make that bigger. Let's do it that way. There we go. So there you go. There's our opening slide. And so we always start off with our shout outs and recognitions. First one goes to Sarah Lloyd, who is our school-based therapist. There was a very sweet note from a parent regarding all the things that she's been doing to help the student and her family. And it's just, I didn't want to put the whole thing on there. It was some confidential information as well, but just for going above and beyond in her support of the student and family. So thank you, Sarah. Appreciate all the great work that you and the other school-based therapists do as well. We have a new staff member that's going to be starting here in the next few days, a new paraeducator, Shraddha. So welcome to Homestead family. I always enjoy having new folks here. So that's nice to have somebody new coming along. And then there was also on the survey, there was a thank you for the weekly video. It's really helpful to get some useful information, especially I love this part, especially for the parent who has a kid who doesn't share much of news from the school, which is probably a good chunk of you. So I'm glad this is helpful. So thank you for sharing that. Questions and concerns. So this is definitely a topic that our campus has been talking about recently, but there's a new software program called ChatGPT. It's an artificial intelligence search function that can answer questions, do coding, all kinds of stuff. It seems like it can help students cheat on exams and homework and or plagiarize easier. How will HHS safeguard against that? This is a tough one. I mean, every year technology changes, things are different. So there is we have to definitely look at how and what we're going to be doing with this. So the conversation has been sort of twofold. One is, yes, we're aware of it. How do we understand it a little bit more? And there might be some ways that A, we can incorporate it, but also B, how do we sort of safeguard against kids just writing a whole essay and turning it in, and they do a pretty nice job. The ChatGPT does a pretty nice job of writing the essays. But as cheating has been around forever, whether it was the old school writing it on your arm or hand or putting it on a note and putting it in the chair in front of you to, now that there's digital stuff, there's other ways that kids cheat. So we're always sort of adapting and trying to change. But again, one of the conversations that we've been having is maybe looking at sort of doing some of the initial work, like in-class essays, other things in class, maybe even having to handwrite them at first and sort of going there and then going to the computer later on. That way you can kind of compare the rough draft to the final draft. There may be other ways to do that. And, this is also the reason why we started the Institute lockdown browsers, which I know everyone was really frustrated with, but when we do tests and, written test things here on campus, we have these lockdown browsers so kids can't jump onto other sources and start searching the internet for answers, or, in this case, writing in, like, write me an answer to this question. So that's why we have lockdown browsers. We're also going to be looking at how we adjust questions and prompts. But again, we can never, totally eliminate cheating. We know that, there's no guarantee or promise, but if we do catch you, there are severe penalties that can happen, especially if it's your second or third or even fourth offense. From getting zeros on assignments to getting zeros in the class to getting dropped from the class to having colleges be made aware of your academic violation. So we really don't want to go that direction, but we definitely need to take some time to kind of figure this one out a little bit more. And it's going to be interesting to see how we try to use this and how do we also safeguard against it. This was the question that kind of got answered a little bit ago, but just want to make sure I was able to do it, because I had 2 questions about this actually. When will students get their 23-24 schedules? So since you're doing all that course selection stuff right now, but your first time you're going to see something is that list of courses that's sent home in April for the verification process. That is simply a list. It is not the order of your classes. There's no teachers listed. There's no periods listed. There's no any of that other stuff going on. So it's just a list of it, and that we make sure that these are the courses you signed up for. So you got to make like, hey, I didn't sign up for basket weaving, so take that one off, but I did sign up for soap carving, so please make sure that one's on there, that kind of thing. We don't offer those classes. That's always just my goofy example. But then you send us, and those are the classes we then start the final process for. Schedules do tend to become available about a week before school starts, usually at Roundup. Sometimes we used to do some of them online, some of them we print off. We'll be figuring out those directions here in a little while, but about a week before is when you're going to get it. And one of the reasons why we wait so long is not just to drive you crazy and to, keep you wondering why, but to be honest, courses change. The overall schedule can change up until the last couple of days before school starts. So sending it out earlier actually may be sending you a wrong schedule. I'll give you a great example. My first year teaching, I was a brand new teacher at Berkeley High School, and the journalism teacher just said, I'm leaving, and they left the day before school started. So I picked up journalism, and a couple other people picked up his English classes, and so they had to change the master schedule, and they then changed, created a number of kids getting moved around and that kind of thing. And so it can change the day before it happens. And that was a fun class. I have to admit, I really enjoyed that class, but just know that we were doing our best to make sure everything's correct and it's the absolute one. And that's why it does take a while to get that together. There was a question came about, what should students do if their teacher has a medical emergency in the classroom? Should we call 911 or run to notify the office first? I think this maybe came from some of the conversation we're having about the event last year with Mr. Lavelle. Because there's multiple kids in a class, we kind of actually would suggest that people kind of do a couple of things at once and not one person do everything, because that's not great. But maybe you say, hey, I'm going to call 911, and then another person calls 2599, which is the office number that is an emergency number. So if you call 911 and it goes out there, we don't know, the office, the administrators don't know that anything's going on. And so we need to, we need to be alerted. So if someone then gets on the classroom phone and dials 2599, and these stickers are on the phone, that'll come down to the office. We'll get a chance to, say, oh, what's going on. And then if you send somebody out of the room, maybe to get another adult, maybe there's an adult in the hallway, next door, outside, whatever it might be, run to the office, that kind of thing. So that you get those three things going on, and you're like, hey, you call 911, you call 2599, and I'm going to go get, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so next door. So again, those would be great. And again, hopefully we never have to deal with that, but that would be the process in dealing with that. And again, we've had to do that. Same thing could happen with a student, particularly if a student has a medical emergency, probably the teacher is going to be calling, 2599. They might ask a kid to call 911. Or they might say, I'm going to call 911, you go get somebody from the office. So just that information, kind of divvying up responsibilities. So it would be great. Oh, oops, I went backwards, sorry. Other announcements we got. So PTSA has got a presentation that they're going to be doing here about scholarships. There is an author, Jeannie Berlowski, I hope I said her name right, who has written the book Launch: How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt-Free and Into Jobs. A great title for a book. And this presentation is going to be on March 1st. So if you're interested in attending, you got to register. So again, if you go to the PowerPoint and you click on that link you see right there, that is a live link in the PowerPoint. You can go and register for that, and hopefully you get a chance to learn how to get your kids through debt-free and into jobs. So again, thanks PTSA for putting that one on. Traffic reminders. Again, I'm going to kind of harp on this one because we've really been having issues with parents in the staff parking lot dropping off and picking up kids. We've been handing out reminders. Please do not park in there. Again, it's going back to that medical emergency thing. We had some medical emergency vehicles that got blocked because of the parents in there. So please don't do that. But if you do come to campus for a meeting or something official, like you have to come to the office, you have to check in with the attendants, whatever, it is okay for a parent to come in and park in a visitor spot in the staff lounge. It should be staff lot, and staff lounge in the staff lot, and then we'll give you a parking pass and all that kind of stuff. So that is an allowable kind of thing, but not the drop off or the pickup. Some important dates coming up for you. Again, next week we got Valentine's Day. We got on the 15th, we have Black History Advisory, Black History Month Advisory happening during tutorial. And then on the 17th, it's kind of a busy day that day, but we do have the makeup course information fair for students who maybe missed or need some extra help in getting their course schedules together, that is the day that course selections are due. So if you really need some help, that's a last minute chance to get some help from the counselors. And remember, those forms need to be both on IC and IK12 or informed K12, as you heard Miss Amosquita talking about earlier. Coming up pretty soon is that February break, the week of the 20th. There is a Cash for College spring presentation that happens on the 28th, and in March 2nd, already into March, college info night for juniors and parents. So again, I wanted to thank Miss Amosquita for coming to be our guest star today and for talking about course selection. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.